land of the homie free. What is that? We work hard for the man and giving.
Back on front. Halloween in Lahaina. And that basically was kindly put out by our generous Mayor Alan Arakawa, which literally from 2004 we had a huge issue with on the publications, on the mismanagement of historic properties, on the crowd control, enforcement, all those kinds of things. Has been an issue from 2004 when we basically brought our first initial complaint. In 2004, the so-called non-profit organization known as Lahaina Town Action Committee had put out a banner depicting a Hawaiian wearing on malo and one cape, no more head, holding one pineapple. So we went out, literally going to all the businesses, telling them take it off, or else they're going to be facing some legal legalities. A lot of them did, but then a lot of them didn't, which gave us a better feel of how the dynamics of this town works. From 2004 up to 2007, we brought the issues in front of the Cultural Resources Commission. And literally in 2007, enabled us to convince the Cultural Resources Commission that the Halloween doesn't belong in Lahaina, so they pulled it. Okay? Enough legitimacies to say, you know what, this is impacting our historic district, so the Cultural Resources Commission made the call, and that was it. The police department was all in full in favor of the Cultural Resources Commission's recommendations, which allowed this thing to happen, to not close down the street. For years, from 2007 up to 2010, we've been in discussion with Lahaina Town Action Committee and the county on how these things could actually still go forward. And there weren't guaranteed conditions that were set. Every time we try to talk about, you know what, the road needs to be remain open, well, it seems like the merchants wanted a private party, which means any of our arguments wasn't a concern of this. So it escalated to today's date when we theoretically went in and advocated against the Halloween because of the monstrosity of the things that occurred during those nighttime hours. My argument was more towards the monies that are being utilized for this event, on the enforcement. Who's paying for all these police officers? You get 84 police officers coming from this town, from Oahu, Molokai, Lanai, Big Island. They all come into Lahaina. Why? Because they like checking out the party. But they're enforcement officers, and if it's coming out of the general budget, that means we paying for it. So who's accountable for those kinds of things? Those kind of questions came about. Other questions came about is the National Historic Register. If this town is placed on the National Historic Register, what are we jeopardizing, or whether or not this town may be delisted? But doing research, that isn't the case. Because the only buildings that are registered on the National Historic Register is all post-contact. They don't acknowledge the kingdom being here. Because if they did, then it would have been registered on the National Historic Register. Moku'ula isn't even listed. All our pre-contact sites adjacent to these towns, like the library, that's not listed on the National Historic Register. So what is listed? It's everything during the whales time, like the whalers spree. Like when the sailors came over here and drank grog and took advantage of our women. Those things were protected on the National Historic Register, which does legitimize them saying Lahaina does belong, or Lahaina Halloween does belong in this historic town. That's bull. Because what it really does to an historic town, it genocides us to even understanding what is the history of this place. And the more these things occur within these areas, the more we're going to see our next generations wither away to limited understanding of why this place is important. They put our prison on the National Historic Register. Our prison. They put the Halepai. They put the courthouse. They put the Waiala Church. Hale Aloha. 11 things in this town is under the National Historic Register. Nothing they mention about pre-contact, about Kamehameha, actually resident in this area. He's a resident in this area. The things that have occurred within that past, none of that is even considered on the National Historic Register. It's everything else. So more and more, we look at this and say, you know what? We're being pegged, yeah, to be erased. We're at the point of our life, 2011, looking at being erased. So in the last meeting in front of the Cultural Resources Commission, I went place on Kapu on this town. And I went place on Kapu to make sure that everybody understands the significance of why these places are important. That Halloween party, that's not important. But if the merchants want to make their money, then fine. Somebody is going to be accountable for what happens here. The mayor went out, said, you know what? Open spree, 3:30 to 12 o'clock. He's going to have to live with that. If anything does happen, crucially does happen, I feel sorry. Because things are going to come way, way more serious. But it only brings us to a conclusion here, saying that we have nobody to speak on our behalf. We have nobody to even sit at the table and listen to our concerns. At the same time, look at their bylaws and figure out whether or not in the bylaws have anything to set parameters of conditions of our concerns. And there is nothing. The county circumvented the whole Cultural Resources Commission's plans to allow this Halloween to happen. They said, okay, the stage is over 30 inches, so let's bring it lower than 30 inches and say it doesn't apply. That's what would happen. They said the stage was too big, so they downsized the stage just enough so it's under the radar to allow it to happen. All those kinds of things. The vendors of where it was originally, they moved it across the street on a private property and said that doesn't apply. So nothing basically applies in our historic district. If the county can circumvent this, hey, guess what? They're going to open one whole can of worms to every other town wanting to do whatever they want. Any monstrosity they want to do, it's going to happen. Because the mayor gave everybody the stamp of approval. He gave them the stamp of approval. But just having their way, by manipulating the process, yeah, by looking at the ordinances and policies, by circumventing those things. And that's what the county did. They want to circumvent the public interest. Now they're going to take our public money, hire the officers, the police officers. What else money they're going to go out there and give to this nonprofit to allow this Halloween to happen so nobody gets financially disturbed? How much money the county going to pay? How much money is the county paying? Does Lahaina Town Action Committee have any money? Who putting on this party? I looked at the permitting. The county applies for the permit. The county pays for the permit fees, and the county signs their own document. There's problems there. There's big problems. Now all of a sudden, what about the people that own properties along Front Street that isn't within the county's jurisdiction? I hope that they don't get infringed upon, the residences that is living within these so-called areas, that all of a sudden some drunk goes through a plate window, that the county may have to pay. And if they do pay for any lawsuits that are going to incur on this, who going to pay for that? Us! So no matter which way you look at it, we lose. No matter which way. There isn't any benefit for the tourism. The tourism coming to our town to reap of this benefit. And they're not giving nothing back. All they're doing is providing one hotel, rent a car, and one flight here. They're not coming over here for spending $1 million hoping to get us out of the deficit. No. They're coming over here for let their hair down. So, Kuliana Kuikai again. Awaiting to see the results of what happens after this year, now that they circumvented this thing to happen, and we'll see what's going to come about that. Our next step, we're looking at possibly going in front of the Planning Commission and looking at the SMA on why the SMA was exempted. And we may even go to the Board of Variances and Appeals. It may even higher than that. Because if there is no mouthpiece for us, the minorities, to be provided a voice out there on the multiple concerns, then we need to take this someplace. And if we got to stay within the parameters of the law, so be it. But sometimes it's always good to stand on the side of the road too. So whichever way it goes, we're going to be there. And it's all about heritage, literally. Everybody say this is a Hawaiian issue. This is like I want an activist or something. No, I'm a patriot. Because if there isn't anybody setting a precedent for our future generations and allow these monstrosities to happen, then guess what? In a discriminant way, we're going to be genocided. This town is no longer going to be Lahaina. They're going to hold the name true, but everything else is just going to be another Disneyland. That's all it is, and that's what we're hoping to stop. So, mahalo, and anybody like no more, give me a call or just email me, kuleanavalley@yahoo.com. KULEANAVALLEY@yahoo.com. Mahalo.
But is that the land of the home?